hoping to do is give you everything you need, documents and everything included, that by the end of this, you can make a decision and start the planning process and get things moving. Here's what we're going to talk about. So like I said, 3 different sessions. Today, we're going to talk about getting started. I'm going to talk about 2 stories to help motivate you to begin the process. This is sharpening the axe. This is addressing the dragon. This is, looking at the tree that's planted and just recognizing it for what it is. In our June seminar, we're going to be talking about the carrier details and specifics. And what that really means is every carrier is different. The second thing we'll talk about in that is the organization documentation. So one thing I'm going to provide each of you with is documentation to actually start putting things down on paper and organizing the plethora and stuff that is everything you deal with in your business. Now, this is going to be critical for those loved ones of yours, or a business partner of yours, or somebody who is interested in purchasing your block of business. And it really is equivalent to having a will and a trust, something that we all should have. Many of us don't. And many times it's a little bit too late. And can it be undone and can it be organized after a tragic event? It can, but it is extremely frustrating and takes a long time. The third thing that I'll share with all of you and give you copies of is a succession planning documents or documentation. This is going to come in 2 forms. Many of us are getting older. I know I am. And I think I'm going to live till I'm 100, and I hope I do, but I may not. And so if that is expected and everything goes according to plan, then I have a certain set of documents that I want to keep and maintain to make sure that if at some point in my own time and in my own choosing, I decide to do something with my business, a succession type of plan, then I have all that ready to go. But if I don't, and if something happens, tragic, accident, death, COVID, et cetera, you name it, something that actually befalls us and it isn't planned at all, there should also be documentation that you have that if something like that happens, that the people that you want to know or manage your estate, whether that's an estate itself, a loved one, a spouse, a business partner, a child, etc., that they know what you want to have happen. Again, akin to a trust or a will, to actually put all that down and say, hey, if something happens, this is what I want to do. And then in the third and final, we'll talk about valuation. And this is one of the key things is, what's my business worth? How do I actually reach a valuation number, et cetera, et cetera. And so we'll dive into that, go through a bunch of different scenarios. I'll give you a bunch of history on what it typically is and why. The other factor in that is continued involvement. We've purchased a bunch of different blocks of business from agents over the past number of years. Some have a continued involvement, others don't, and that actually factors into the valuation number. We'll go over that as well. And then at the very end, what purchase expectations and average transaction timelines are. Because all of us think that, hey, this could be a nice little thing. We can do it really easy. And in a week or 2 or 3, we're all done. All money is transferred and it's just a nice little tidy transaction. And I can tell you right now, that is what we're after. And if we have organization documentation, succession planning documentation in place, that helps extremely. That is pivotal to this transaction timeline. But if you don't, the timeline is a lot longer than you would want it to be, and maybe even think it would be. So let me share with you 2 different scenarios. We talked about expected and unexpected. Let's talk first about the transaction that Stonehill did with an agent. Let's say we started about a year ago and ended up, the whole transaction process took about 3.5 months. Here's the scenario. An agent comes to me and says, "Hey, Jeff, I want to retire. I've built a good block of Medicare business. I want to sell it. What should I do?" So we sat down, came up with a game plan, and got a lot of this organizational structure done. And then he said, "What should I do?" I said, "Well, this is about what we could purchase the block for, or if you can get a higher price, go get a higher price." So we stayed in touch for a couple months, and he said, "I've got some guy here, he's going to give me this, and I've got some guy here that's going to give me that." And I said, "Listen, get as much money as you can out of it, as long as if it's fair, just do that." And so anyway, 3 months went by. He finally called me and said, "Guess what? Everybody backed out, or nobody could get the money, or whatever the case may be. Are you still interested in purchasing it?" So I said, "Yeah, we are." Well, he had a hard deadline because not only did he want to retire, but he actually wanted to retire and leave the country and gallivant around the world with his retirement, which, I mean, why wouldn't you? That's fantastic. So we had a hard deadline that we had to be finished by, and the finish date was the end of the year. So he actually moved to Utah for about 6 weeks. He was in the office for about 3 weeks. And in that 3 weeks, we got everything done and submitted to the carriers. Now, it takes a little while for the carriers to process. Sometimes they have additional questions. But the good thing is he was around, and between myself and him, we got everything done in record time. And for all intents and purposes, it went just as we all wanted to go. The great thing was, by the time he had purchased his tickets and he had found out everything he wanted to do and where he was going and where he was going to begin, he got on a plane. The transaction was complete, with the exception of one carrier, which we could talk about. And he's off. He's done. He has his money. He didn't want to be involved at all. That goes to that, how involved do I want to be? As soon as he got on the plane, he was not going to renew his license. He was not going to recertify. He wanted nothing to do with it, which is totally fine, because we have the ability to actually have all of that business come in. All the carriers know that that block of business now belongs to Stonehill. They know that, we're licensed, we're appointed, we have people that are actually going to do all the service. The carriers are happy with it. We actually did a couple events with the clients to let them know that this agent was retiring. He had chosen Stonehill. We were able to make introductions. And the good thing is the persistency remained high. And that's exactly what we want. That's exactly what you guys want, because again, you've worked hard to do it. You care about these people. And at the end of the day, the more people that we can continue to help and serve, the better. And so we have that same methodology. So the great thing was, in this situation, it really went off with a hitch, and he was able to do what he wanted. We were able to, help him out with the purchase of that block. He felt great about, doing that with Stonehill. We felt great about, where we got him and got him the money up front so he could kind of do and live his life, and everybody's happy. So that's scenario one. That's the scenario we all want to be in. Scenario number two is the unexpected one. And so the scenario I'm going to talk about now is an agent got sick about January of last year. He was rushed to the hospital, and 4 days later passed away. In that 4 days, he made one little inference about his business, thankfully, and he whispered to his wife, "If anything happens to me, call Stonehill and Doug Draper." And the next day he passed away. So what I'm going to share with you is some video that I have from his widow. Many of you know Dennis Roten. I'm going to introduce you to his widow, Diane Roten. And she and I have worked together for a year. 1 year, actually 13 months. And finally, after 13 months, we were able to transition his business because he had no planning, no organization, no succession plan, and left his sweet spouse not only to worry and take care of a funeral, the estate, but now what to do with his business. And so she talked to Doug Draper about 4 months after Dennis had passed away. I started working with her shortly thereafter, and like I said, it's taken a while to actually bring all that together. So let me introduce you to Diane.
I'm not young. I know everyone says I don't look 81. I am 81 years old, and this happened when I was 80. So it was pretty devastating. I mean, it would be at any age, but as you get older, it's more and more devastating. Your emotional state is just, it's not quite as strong as you were when you. I mean, I think back 60 wouldn't have been as much of a problem. It would have been hard, but I could have coped with it and not been really as angry as I was at Dennis, and mainly Dennis for not, because I approached him so many times about having to be prepared for an emergency, like you said,
Yeah.
and he would not do it, nor would he do it for his funeral. I had 1 page in there, the sale of his plot. That's all that's in there. That's it. So that's kind of sad,
Yeah.
but true. Just before Dennis passed, he said to me, "I'm so sorry I'm leaving you with such a complicated mess." I hope there haven't been a whole lot of widows that have gone through this. I hope not, because it's horrendous. It really is.
And again, I know this is an emotional thing, but many times, especially us hard-headed guys, I can say that because I'm a hard-headed guy. A lot of times we need some motivation to actually just get moving, right? Um,
Yes.
this I've spent, like I said, 13 months with Diane. I've gotten to know her really well. She actually considers me a son more than just a Jeff Jones, because we really have spent so much time together going through everything to get Dennis's affairs in order as far as his business go. And she tells me time and time again, over and over again, that as hard as it is to lose a spouse, to bury a spouse, to manage the estate, um, having gone through the process of doing something with Dennis's business has been the worst experience of her life because she didn't know anything. She knew where Dennis worked. She'd actually gone to some open enrollment meetings with Dennis. She actually knew quite a few of his clients, but she had no idea of the structure of the business, who he was appointed with. She knew that some of the carriers because he talked about Select Health and UHC and and those types of things, but she didn't have any idea of what to do. And so by the time I got involved, Dennis had done all of his business with Stonehill, so we knew exactly who he was appointed with. But then we had to go through the process of proving that he had passed away to the carriers. We had to go through the process of going through the carrier specifics to actually make sure that there was a way to transfer the business. And unfortunately for her, she was the only person that the estate side that was eligible and able to do such a thing. And again, time and time again, she just told me what a terrible experience it was. And I don't know if you heard in that little clip, but when you watch this YouTube video, you'll hear her many times say how angry she was at Dennis, because he left her with just what he left her with.
He left things.
Do you think if he would have had any idea of what he was going to leave you, the mess,
Oh, yeah.
do you think he would have wanted to at least have a conversation?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because I could feel him apologizing and telling me. So he's very grateful that we went through the process, because we could have just burned it all up and taken the 6 months, and the kids would have gotten that, and that's it. And he's very grateful to Terry, and he every day tell Terry how grateful I am to her. And I'm so sorry, honey, that I've left you this way. And I was so angry that I said, I hope you're feeling what I'm feeling. I want you to feel the way I'm feeling. And I think some of it I know he was, because I could feel his sadness. So I know he was, but I wanted him to. I was so angry at him for leaving me this way that I wanted him to feel the way I was feeling. I still feel, I may look 81 outside, but inside I'm 150. That's what I feel like, 150. I really do. And I think.
How many of those years were put on by having to go through what you just went through with the business?
With the business?
Yeah.
Well.
Did that age you by a couple years?
I think it aged me inside, because I kept wanting him to think about cutting back. I said, yes, I think I'm going to sell the business now. Yeah, I think he would have done it. If he had known he was that sick, he would have sold the business way before he did. But we were in the dark. We did not know he had 50% damage to his heart. And he looked so good. I mean, working 18-hour days for 9 weeks every year, and working the way he was working and looking healthy. Of course, I fed him the right things. He ate the right things. He exercised every day. I think that's the only thing that kept him going and looking so good. But when it went fast, because age gets to you. You get to be almost 83. It was 82. Yeah, almost 82. So yeah, I think he would have wanted to talk to me if he had known with this complicated mess. Understatement. Very much of an understatement. You think it's too strong to tell the agents that how I felt?
No, I think that's important.
The analogy of walking into a room of PhDs,
I think,
and you're in pre-kindergarten, having no knowledge of the insurance business.
No, I mean, what you and I both want to help spouses understand is that a little bit of planning goes a long way.
Absolutely.
Right.
Just like with anything.
Yeah.
Be prepared. I'm a Girl Scout. I was a girl. Be prepared.
I've had other conversations with agents that have assumed that their wives or spouses or kids or somebody, as soon as a succession plan is put into place, that they're going to go get licensed, they're going to go get certified, and all of a sudden all that business can be transferred and kept. And the one funny story was, I was having a conversation with an agent about that. His wife walks into the room. This was a virtual call. And while she walked into the room, I just said, "Oh, hey, I'm glad you joined us for our meeting. Joe Agent," I won't mention his name, "just told me that if anything happens to him, that you're going to go get licensed, you're going to get certified, and you're going to take over his Medicare business." And I said, "We're excited to do that. Stonehill can help you do that." And there was a tantrum in the background. Some harsh words were spoken. And she said, "Joe Agent, I've never heard of this before. That's not something that I want to do. Why would you even say such a thing?" And the reason, is they had not had that conversation about what they wanted to do and how they wanted to do it. But obvious from her reaction, she wanted nothing to do with it. And so again, this is kind of sharpening the axe, right? This is just things that we need to discuss at some point to figure out what we want to do. Because we get it, Stonehill gets it. We've been around a long time. With many of you, we've worked with you together a long, long time. And we understand the value of this business. We understand the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into building a block of business. And we want to help you maintain that in any way. Now, I'm not here to say that Stonehill is the only place that you should consider selling your block of business. We're here if you need us to be, but we're not here to say you have to do it with us. In fact, I would rather, if you have a family member or a business partner or whoever that may be, Let's actually get together and help walk through that process so you can transfer it to who you want to transfer it to, not to a place where you don't want to have it transferred to. And this was the little utterance Dennis gave Diane that gave her the only starting point that she knew to begin with. She told me if he wouldn't have said, talk to Doug Draper, talk to Stonehill, and she wouldn't have had started working with me, she literally was going to pack up his office, put all of the clients in storage, lock it up, and as she calls it, burn it up because she wanted nothing to do with it, which is sad. I'm sure Dennis, working 32 years in the business, developing his block of business, would have been rolling over in his grave, knowing that his clients weren't going to be serviced. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about all of that. It was about that his clients would not have anybody to turn to. That's would have really impacted him. But from Diane's standpoint, she wasn't willing or wanting to get licensed, get appointed, or do any of that. She would rather just walk away.
They cannot leave their wives. That's the only reason I'm doing this, because I almost canceled on you. I thought I really want to do this, but I want to do it for all those women that I just don't want the same thing to happen to them. Because it's been a living nightmare. It really has. It's been a living nightmare. I mean, it would have been easy if United Healthcare just said, okay, just like they selected, then it would have been easier. But it still was a nightmare not knowing anything when I walked into that. I was just in shock. I'm thinking, I'm looking around, I wouldn't even know where to begin. So that's why I said what I did, that it felt like I was experiencing a tsunami multiplied by millions, because it's how I felt inside.
Did you have any idea what to do?
Zero. No, I didn't know what to go to first. Nothing. It was really a big blank. And I was in shock. And that's why Terry said, Mom, you go home. We'll take care of this, Because Doug was there and Terry was there, and I walked in. I thought, well, I asked, is there something I can do to help? And Terry said, no, Mom, just go on. You just need to go home. I think she saw I was just kind of in shock. I wouldn't know what to do. Know that he said that the commissions, that I get 6 months probably worth of commissions, and that's all I would get. But I didn't put 2 and 2 together that it would just stop. No, I didn't know that until you told me. One day it's just going to stop.
So any other words of wisdom to people that might, to help hopefully not experience what you've experienced?
I think it's just the matter of fact of communication between the spouses, so that they are aware of what their spouse, what their husband or wife, what they're doing, what entails, what should I know, some basic things about your business, so in case you're in an accident or you happen to pass, that I would know where to begin or what to do. Some type of an idea of how to run the business, who to call, that type of thing. Just basic information would have been very helpful to me. Yeah. If I knew enough that I was to sell it within 2 months, and just how to go about selling your business. That's the main thing, because I don't think any of the spouses are going to run down and take the test and try to be study and take the test and want to be an agent. Pretty much want to sell it right away, I would think. Wouldn't you? I mean, how many wives are going to say at 60, in their 60s, oh, now I'll become an agent? I think they'd want to sell it. When you get into that age bracket, you do not particularly want to start over again. You're going towards retirement. But Dennis told me right from the beginning, I never want to retire. So I knew he would want to work until he died, which he did.
And so I hope that gives you kind of an overview. I hope that gives you a little bit of what we're trying to accomplish. I hope, I'll see most of you over the next couple of months, and to give you the opportunity to provide you all the paperwork that you can actually just start going through whenever you want to go through it. If you have questions, Doug and I are here to help you. Again, we don't necessarily want all of you to say, well, I just want to sell it to Stonehill. That's not our intention. We do purchase blocks of business in, in certain scenarios that that we can help out with, but understand that a lot of you already are part of an agency or a hierarchy or a business group, or have a succession plan already in mind. We just want to help you dot the I's, cross the T's, and make it easier on the family. Because from a business standpoint, we can work all those things out. But from a family standpoint, I think the last thing that people want to do is leave their family holding a bag full of, well, you fill in the blank.